Okay, it looks like we are currently live. While we get sort of set up here, what I'll do is I'm going to jump over to the drawing stream layout and get all of the music and everything set up, and then I'll sort of talk about what we're going to be doing today. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, we should have music coming through. Looks like the stream template loaded as well. Just some housekeeping for today. Since the last drawing stream I did a week ago, I fixed the template a little bit. I made a couple changes on the layout just to make it look a little bit cleaner. I don't have the left side of my toolbar blocked by the border. I took that out, so it's a little bit easier to see the different commands. Okay, looks like we have everything for today's session set up. As people come and go, I'll do spot checks on things like the audio, and we'll sort of proceed from there. So for today's drawing stream session, I thought a little bit about what I wanted to do based on what we did last week. In last stream, we focused on Hormolder anatomy. I went through some sketches for basic concept stuff, explaining what the people of Homeworld look like and giving people sort of some insight into how the biology and everything for Homeworlders work. I do want to return to the Homeworlder study at some point. Like I mentioned on the last stream, I want to do a session devoted to clothing and armor that's typically found on Homeworld. And originally I was thinking about doing that for today, but in order to keep things sort of mixed up and keep some variety, I'm going to take things in a different direction. So we are loaded up here in Clip Studio Paint Pro. And if you can see up on the upper left on the stream layout, the focus of today's session is going to be what I call a creature study. And to give folks a little bit of background about what that means, I talked about it last stream, but I primarily am a concept designer when it comes to art. The focus of the stuff that I do tends to be a bit more concept driven. I wouldn't say I'm a high-level renderer or sketch artist. I tend to sort of kind of fall in between when it comes to what I draw. And I figured it'd be an interesting challenge for the stream today to do a creature study, which, to sort of define that, is where we take a look at ideas and concepts based around some sort of creature design and then work through various design elements of said creature to come up with a final product. And rather than start from complete scratch, I thought a good way to sort of kick things off would be doing what I call a source material adaptation. So if we jump over to this screen in Clip Studio, what I have here is a sprite design that I got from an artist online. And what I'd like to do is copy this over onto our working canvas. And maybe I can blow that up a little bit. That's probably good. I may have to lower the transparency down that so it doesn't obscure the rest of the canvas. But this particular design, as you can tell, is a sort of spider-like creature. I don't think it has a name. But for the sake of the creature study, at least in this part, what I'd like to do is take this base sprite concept and adapt it into a more fleshed out, realized creature concept piece. So what that means, or what my goal is for this, is to take this sort of 16-bit design and build on a lot of the elements and create something a bit more fleshed out and a little more realized. And I guess we'll sort of see how that process goes and where we end up compared to the source material. So just like before, when we've worked on drawings, what I'm going to start with here, let's see, maybe you can drop the transparency a little bit. I'm going to be kind of zooming in and out and then jumping back to our source material as we go here. But like we've done in the past, what I'm going to start with is a base primary sketch for the actual pose of this thing that we're going to try and design here. And that's probably going to take a little bit of trial and error. What I'm doing is just using my mechanical pencil tool. I'm going to start using rough shapes to sort of define how I want the body to look, as it were. And then through trial and error, we'll sort of arrive on the final pose or position of our creature here. And then once we know what the overall shape's going to be, then we can actually start filling in details and getting more of a sketch. So the primary is just rough, sort of rough body pose, try and figure out where we're going to go as far as which way it's facing, what it's going to be doing, stuff like that. And so looking at the original reference material here on the sprite, this thing has two major body sections. We'll put this one layer above so I can make notes here. We've got a sort of upper torso and then a lower torso or abdomen like you'd see on a regular spider. So what I started doing here on the primary is I started roughing in the respective body sections. So we've got our upper body here, lower body here, and now I want to try and figure out if this is going to be something that we can work with when it comes to defining the actual pose of our creature here. I'm thinking we need to move this out a little bit. Between the upper body and lower body, there's a more narrow connecting section right here. So definitely don't want to cut that off. You can see here the back has sort of a row of dorsal spikes that go along the middle of the back that way. And then it has this connecting section between the upper and lower torso here. I guess if we were to take our reference layer and do sort of a side view shot of the creature here, if this is the head, this is the upper body. And this is the lower body. We get something that looks kind of like this. We have the part in between. And for limbs, for legs, we've got 8. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 limbs in total, like a regular spider. But the way they're sort of divided up depends on what part of the body they're attached to. We've got 2 here, or 4 here if we're looking at in total. And we've got 2 here, divided up. So based on how we have sort of our body parts laid out, we'll use, this is our rough reference over here, the side view, since it's pretty close to the original pose there. If we start experimenting around with the position of the larger body parts, we could start thinking about, all right, where on the body are we going to start putting the limbs? Then how are they going to be positioned? So it looks like the first set on the upper body are going to probably be somewhere around here. And again, since we're working at a real basic primary level, I'm just going to put some rough shapes in and try and get sort of a basic layout, and then proportion-wise and everything else we'll work on once we have something a bit more firm. And this is definitely going to be challenging because of all the legs. We want to make sure they don't look like they're tangled, but also not obscuring parts of the rest of the design. I think the only way to do that is to sort of experiment with how they're coming off of the body, and then just do it section by section, and then see if what we're doing is obscuring the shape too much. Give us some more room. What I'm going to do is shrink this down a little bit. That'll do. Alright, we've got like 4 legs so far. Now we need to figure out how we're going to have the back legs laid out here. think this last pair need to be somewhat in line. Hey there, Edward. Welcome to the stream. Glad you can make it, as usual. In case you missed it from the beginning, the sort of overview that I was talking about earlier, what we're doing for the creature study here is trying to adapt a sprite design, which I've got here for reference, and turn that into a fully realized concept piece here. And let's just start off. How's the audio coming in? Is there a good balance between the background music and the mic? Can you hear it? Okay, good. Let me know if anything weird happens with the audio. I'm basically using the same settings and mic setup from the last drawing stream, so I didn't really have to tweak much this time. Alright. So far, we've got our first rough primary here for our spider creature. I haven't quite decided how I want to handle the other back leg. May have to see if I end up using this one where it's gonna go in relation to the rest of the limbs and the body. What I could do is take the side profile shot we've got here and do something with it. I don't know if I want to do more than one fully drawn out concept piece for the reference material here, but I could experiment with this one. If we take a section we copied out, blow it up a little bit. This could be a good way to give us a starting point when it comes to defining details that we want on the final piece. In fact, maybe I'll use this as a reference. I won't do full pose, but since I need to sketch out some of the specific details on things like the head and whatnot, using this sort of side profile reference will give me a chance to sort of start with that. So let's see what that leads here. And obviously, since we're working off of a sprite-based starting point for our reference, since again this is supposed to be a concept design exercise, I'm going to sort of experiment around and take some artistic liberties with what I'm drawing in concept form here, just based on the source material. So this thing has horns that go back like this. What I'm doing is I'm just drawing in some details around the face and seeing if I can put anything together here that I want to put on the final realized design. I like the idea of these sort of mandible-like parts next to the mouth. And again, this is a side profile view with the creature looking this way. Just a more zoomed in version of what we've got here if it was facing directly sideways. We could even make more of a ridged plating going along the horns too and give it a bit more texture. And here would be where the head intersects the body. And the first legs be over here. Alright, I think that's not a bad start for details on the head here. Now we need to actually get our finished primary together and start sketching in the actual details. So I'm going to keep this one, and while we're figuring out how we want to sort of structure the pose, I'm going to try experimenting around with some other positions and see if that informs where we end up heading. I think the first one we did is a good start, but I want to mess around with some other ideas and see if there's something else that I like better. And the reason why I'm working a little bit smaller here is just so I can save some space on the canvas while we look at some ideas. The idea that this thing would potentially have a mode where it's sort of raised up almost like it was in a bipedal stance versus on all fours or all eights, that could be an interesting idea too. Wonder if we tried doing a 3/4 view in perspective to show that what that would look like. I think this could potentially become a little bit cluttered due to the sheer amount of limbs. But I'm not too opposed to the idea of having something like that. Let's see, what if we cut that out here? Trying to define the upper arms a little bit better, just to draw them in on the sketch here so that I could find them against everything else. Yeah, Edward, what I was kind of thinking in the position would be sort of like a rearing up pose. Like I know some really aggressive spiders do. They'll have sort of a pop-up position before they jump on something. Problem is going to be, again, not losing the entire piece and all of the limbs. And I definitely picked a pretty challenging first project for this stream to try this with, but I think it's a good challenge. So if we were to number all of the limbs 1 to 4 on the upper body and then 5 through 8 on the lower body, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. That could be a pretty interesting pose to work with. I think I want to try and do something with this one right here. To me, that seems a little bit more ambitious than the original one I drew. But I see some potential. So what I'm going to do is sort of give this up in the corner, and now I'm going to try and draw out an actual more fleshed out primary. I think I'm going to try and put the entire body sketch together first and then rough in the legs last. That'll probably help get the torso parts defined, and then we'll worry about how the legs are going to come into play. All right, this would be rough shape for this part, the upper body. Make sure we're keeping consistent with our perspective too. That's gonna be a challenge for this one, I can already tell. Now the challenge is going to be how we set up the body, lower body. I'm going to put some placeholder spots for the legs. I may have to move those around a little bit, but I want to sort of give myself a reference point about where the different limbs are going to have to go. All right, let's see if we can start figuring out the limbs. Start from the back and work our way forwards. I think that would be the easiest way to do this here. We'll see. Now, question is, where do I want to put the final back leg? We go up here. And let's see. So this would be 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we need to do 1 through 4. Let's move this over a little bit so we're not drawing on top of our reference material here. Just gives myself a reference point on each of the legs. I'll have to draw on the actual details in a sec. Edward, are you talking about the head on the sketch here, or the one that's on the actual source material over here? Over here. That could be because of the shape of the entire upper body. This part that we're looking at here is the upper torso, and this part down here is the head. So the challenge is going to be taking this whole part here and then translating it over here and sort of giving it the details from our other one here. Since I kind of see myself going this way as far as how I want to set up the face. Okay, if we label all of our limbs at 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Yeah, I think we can work with this. I'm gonna go ahead and use this particular primary. It's gonna be tricky to get the positioning of all the limbs in place without making it look like a huge cluttered mess, but that'll be part of the challenge. So now I'm going to take our rough primary here and start actually sketching in details. I'll start with the head. I do want to have this particular reference handy as well. Put that over there for now. I'm just dropping the transparency down a little bit on the primary so I can see what I'm doing on the top layer here in the sketch. I'm going to put some markings here to sort of differentiate this section that needs to be a different color. Sort of an orange highlight around this part on the shell. The arm's going to go here. got that same coloring going along the back of the lower body. Hey, what's up, Depressed Bean? Welcome to the stream. All right, let's take a look at how our torso sections are looking here. I need to get the underbelly plating here that runs all the way underneath the lower torso and the upper torso up here too, actually. And make sure we get that running all the way to the end where the tail is located. Just creating some texture running along the top of the shell here. All right, there's no use in putting it off. Let's start working on these legs. We'll do the lower body first again, and then see how that sort of shakes out here. Hey, what's up there? I can't see your name. Person who just said howdy. Do you not have a visible username here? It shows as a blank in the chat. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know what I'm supposed to call you, but either way, welcome. Welcome to the Creature Study stream. If you're just finding it randomly, always welcome to have people hanging out. Yeah, I guess so, Edward. We may have either ghosts or ninjas hanging out on stream today, or ghost ninjas. Alright, let's see if we can keep track of where all of our legs are going here. 6 is down here. Oh, that might actually be... Yeah, that's 6. The 5 is the last back leg. Coming out here and down. Actually, this is the other foreleg on the lower half. So I want this one to actually be in front. This one marked 6 is actually the corresponding back leg that is on the same row or pair as this one. I think we can hide the primary underneath for the moment. Basically where I end up putting the upper 4 legs or arms. That's going to be the challenge now. So I guess we can go back pair first. The elbow joint would be somewhere around here. And likewise, this one, I'm thinking down this way since there's empty space. Or something like that. Now we have two more. You put the first one there. And then we have the last one going up here. To answer your question, Edward, I haven't had a chance to check out those other artists from the previous stream. I will definitely do so when I get a spare minute. In fact, maybe I'll try to do so before the next stream this week, which should be on Thursday, if I remember correctly. What I'm planning on doing Thursday is a chill stream, just chatting stream. And what I wanted to talk about on that particular stream is sort of a more in-depth look at the VTuber scene. I know we sort of talked a little bit about it on the previous streams so far, but I'm planning on actually writing up some specific information and outlining what I want to talk about, as opposed to just sort of rattling stuff off the top of my head. So I kind of want to talk about the major VTubers that I've sort of found and what I think of their content, and then also go into the more indie side, people that might not be part of one of the big affiliated groups, and sort of talk about that too. So I think that particular stream would be a good time to do sort of a knowledge share type thing for folks tuning in that may not have heard of some of these other ones, and then that'll be an interesting discussion. I'd have to go back and look at the footage, Edward. I know it's captured because we talked about it. I can look at the chat replay or in the actual footage archive. I can see who you specifically mentioned, because I know we said them by name, but that was last week. I remember we talked about a couple of them, but I don't remember. I think one of them was named Haruka. I think I was confused by that one because I thought it was a female YouTuber, but I think that's a guy. I think that was one of them. Alright, what I'm doing now, we sort of have our limbs roughed in as I'm adding the claws on the end. And there's some spiky bits on the foremost set of limbs or legs, hands, arms, limbs. These ones here have hooks. Alright. Looks like we are just about done with our sketch primary here. I'm doing some cleanup on the sketch work, which I don't really need to focus on too much because when I go in to do the lines next, then I'll be able to clean it up some more. But I think we've got a pretty good working pose for our spider creature. I don't think that's the way I want to label these. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6, 7. Oh, we do it this way. 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be pretty embarrassing if I get all the way to the end of this and end up drawing the wrong amount of legs. Don't want to do that. All right, let's do some last couple checks on the base sketch here. Again, I just want to make sure the details are clear. They don't have to be perfectly clean. And then I think we're good to move on to line work. What we'll do is we'll drop the transparency down on here. I'm gonna probably want to use, I'm gonna go up to 7 for the baseline work. We'll see if that ends up being too thick for spots on the face that we're working on here. Maybe I'll go 6 and split the difference. Right now, I'm working on the horns, trying to get a consistent shape here. Yeah, it's a pretty cool song. I think the album that this came from, Mario and Chill. And I get the feeling this whole thing is gonna be a bunch of synthwave type tracks, which is fine by me. One of the main reasons why I've been playing a lot of the Game Chop stuff on stream is because I know they're safe to stream on YouTube and Twitch. I don't really want to have to deal with DMCA shenanigans, so it's nice that they're up there on Spotify and I can put them on here. For Up to Me, there's a whole bunch of other type of music that I've got on this machine or on Spotify that I would like to share with you guys. I just know that it's gonna get me copyright striked if I do it. This one slaps pretty good too. And it's back from the SNES era, Mario World. What I'm doing here is I'm just working my way from the upper body to the lower body and sort of in between. I need to finish the rest of these limbs before I start working on the torso. We'll do that first here. let's zoom out a little bit and do sort of a status check on what we got here. All right. Keep working our way down the torso here. Status horrifying? Well, if that's the case, then the design is working as intended. If I was drawing a giant spider demon creature and the general vibe was cuddly, that would be probably more concerning to me. Although it may come as no surprise to the folks watching this, but I am not too good at drawing cute things. In fact, that's definitely not my strong suit. I'm much better at drawing monster type things. Hey, stop looking back. What's up? What's your question? If quizzes are quizzical, then what are tests? If I didn't know better, I'd say that was a trick question. Nice try, though. I don't know if this is your first time on one of my streams, but thankfully it's not my first rodeo on the internet. It was pretty funny. Speaking of trick questions, I think because I follow other VTubers and watching what their chats do to mess with them, I've probably seen a lot of the more funny ones. One of my favorite VTubers I follow, who's pretty well known, I imagine, would be Project Melody, and she tends to be very vulnerable to bad and/or dad jokes. And those seem to invoke a pretty hilarious reaction every time she doesn't realize she's reading one. That's noted, Edward. I think I can guess what the asterisks in that particular name stand for. The funny thing about that, when it comes to people just kind of messing with streamers, doesn't matter if they're trying to troll them or just kind of mess with them for fun. I can assure you guys that I don't need any help saying stupid things. If you give me long enough when I'm doing something, I will say something inevitably dumb on my own. You really don't need to try and trick me. It'll just happen eventually. Alright, looking at our line art, we're pretty much through the entire base shape. Now it's time to clean up the line work before we get to color assignment. And also make sure we're not missing any details from our source over there on the left side. All right, let's take a look at our lines here. I think we've got the majority of the major details here. Let's see, one thing I'm noticing is that this leg appears to be much longer than the other four legs. So let's fix that. Alright, there we go. We want to keep our proportions somewhat even here. I think now we're good to go and start assigning colors to the creature here. Alright, we'll go ahead and work on color assignment now, and if I see any other errors or things I need to fix in the line work, I always jump back. The color assignment should go much faster. I think getting everything added in and then cleaned up, assuming I stay on the right layer, shouldn't take too long. I think going with the general form fill tool is going to make this a little bit easier, and then I'll sweep back through like we did on our last drawing and make sure I patch up any areas where there's missing color. Is there a reason I start with blue? Are you talking about on the sketch and primary layer, Edward? If that's what you're talking about, the reason why I start with blue is it's pretty common practice in drawing to use a pretty neutral light color. I've always used light blue since that's sort of the way I learned. But in reality, you can use any sort of base color as your sketch layer. I've seen some people do green. To me, the light blue is kind of in line with the way drafters do their rough primaries too. So I sort of adopted that early on as my color of choice when it comes to the initials, but it can really be whatever you want, whatever works. It also shows up pretty easily on the transparency when you're trying to work as a reference underneath. Alright, we've got the orange highlights. Now we just need the plating underneath the head and body, and then the eyes. For that, the color assignment's done, and we just need to clean up all of the areas that didn't get filled. We got bright green for the eyes. All right. I think that's all the major areas we need colored. Now we're just gonna do the color cleanup before we move on to shading. I'm gonna zoom in a bit for this so it's easier to see the blanks, missing spots. Oh, I like this particular song. Got a real sort of lo-fi hip-hop vibe to it. doesn't look like the color cleanup's going to take too long here. Pretty much almost done. I think the shading is going to be a little more work. We have a lot of areas to shade and color here. And the shadows are going to be a little tricky because of just how many moving parts are in this particular design. Yeah, I see we're doing Sonic music now. Gotta go fast. Alright, for the shading layer, I'm going to do this the same way I did our last piece that we worked on. Touch it up, clean up the shadows. I might be able to use a bigger base brush for all these leg sections, since there's a lot of space to cover. What if we went up to 20? Yeah, I think that works better. That'll make it a little bit less tedious to get all of the shadows on these long parts down, and then when I go into sort of refine them a little bit, that'll make it easier too. Alright, I think we're making good progress on the shading here. That may do it for the main body color. Let's see, now we do orange. We do the shell, the highlights. We're gonna have to drop down to smaller brush size to do these small areas around the head.
Let's go crazy.
We're gonna go up back to our larger brush for these other sections here on the claws. Again, we're just trying to get a rough shape in for the shadows on each of these sections. I'm gonna go in there next as soon as we do this and clean up the different sections, get some harder edged shading, and then we'll be pretty much done. Alright. I think that'll do it for the shell orange parts. I think we just need to do the lower gray parts and then put the same shading on the eyes. Alright, let's do the eyes and then start the cleanup. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm going in with my eraser brush and I'm just cleaning up the edges and the shadows to get them the way I want them here. That's going to give us a bit more of a harder edge towards the lines on the shadows. But if I feel like they need to be cut back a little bit or what have you, that's what I'm doing here. Probably won't make too many changes to the way the shadows are sort of leading down each of the legs. I think I'm just going to clean up the trailing edge. If there's color bleed like here, then I'll just fix that as I see it. Alright, we're just working our way down from the upper body and legs, down the torso to the lower body, cleaning up all of the shadowed sections there. You know, I don't really have much attachment to the old Sonic games since I didn't really play them. But these remixes are pretty cool. Good energy. Overall good vibe to just sort of listen to. Hey, what's up, Fearful Milk? Welcome to the stream. We are actually in the process of finishing up. But before we do, I will sort of give an overview about what we've been working on and what we're doing. Oh, I see. Well, I'm glad you decided to stop by the channel for today's session. Just to give you a real quick overview about what I do here on my channel. I tend to vary up my streams depending on how I want to set things up per week. But we do a mix of drawing streams like you see here. I'll be doing my first chatting or chill stream later on this week. We've also done gaming. Last week we played Friday Night Funkin'. And then the other type of stream that we've done is a jam stream where I run through different beatboxing related things with the chat. Sort of a mix of practice and drills and collaborative music making stuff with the chat. We composed a new background music track last week, which was pretty fun. We came up with a new song that I need to write and record that'll be used as background music for things like the chatting streams here on the channel. So depending on any given week, depending on what content I want to focus on, those are the types that I've sort of set up and plan on sort of rotating between as we go forward. Will you be doing more social stuff? When you say social stuff, are you talking about things like collab stuff with other VTubers? Yeah, these Sonic song remixes slap pretty hard. I like them. Ah, I see. Such as Discord and stuff for interact with viewers. I think that's a pretty good idea. What I'm trying to sort of get set up, again, this is my second week streaming here on the channel since the debut went off. I would like to sort of include a lot of the folks that are tuning into the streams when it comes to kind of collaborative and interactive stuff. One thing that I mentioned wanting to focus for some of the gaming content is fighting games. I do play a lot of fighting games, and I think it'd be cool if we end up getting people tuning into the stream and doing stuff like fighting game match casuals with people that are tuned in on the stream. I think that'd be cool. For folks that have tuned into the jam streams, if I'm able to meet some other beatboxing VTubers and they want to do something like a joint jam session over something like Discord, I think that would be a lot of fun too. So I'm kind of feeling it out just to see. It'll largely depend on how many people are tuning in and what we're working on, but I'm definitely open to the idea of integrating social stuff into the content here. What fighting games do I play? You know, that's probably something I should have talked about on the debut stream. I didn't get into it at any great length, and I should have. Let's see. What do I play? I play Soul Calibur. I'm a big fan of the Soul Calibur series. I haven't played Soul Calibur 6 in a while, but I was playing it for quite a bit when it came out. Let's see. I do play Skullgirls. That's one of my favorite games. I've been kind of away from Skullgirls for a long time. I kind of want to do like a get back into fighting games thing, and Skullgirls might not be a bad one to start with. Let's see. I am planning on playing the new Guilty Gear Strive when it comes out. I think it's coming out on PC at the same time as everything else, hopefully. I didn't get a chance to play it on beta since I didn't have it on console, but I've played a lot of the older Guilty Gear games. I played a lot of Accent Core and Double X back in the day, and I didn't play Xrd because again I didn't have it on a system that I owned. But I'm looking forward to playing the new one. It's looking to be pretty crazy. I'm just gonna get absolutely smoked for probably the good majority of the time I'm playing it till I get decent. I play Them's Fightin' Herds, the indie four-legged animal fighting game. That one's pretty fun. I haven't really talked about it here, but I wouldn't mind looking at that at some point. Especially since it has really good netcode. It's got rollback, so matches are really good for that particular game. Same with Skullgirls. What else? I did play Blaze Blue back in the day. Probably 3 iterations old now. I haven't been back to that game in a while. Yeah, Edward, the Guilty Gear series gets very creative with their titles and terminology. I guess because that was technically the 3rd major iteration when Xrd came out. For whatever reason, that's the way it's pronounced. At least for the new one, Strive. When they went for something a little bit easier to figure out, because Xrd. Let's see. Fearful Milk. Yeah, I do have a Discord account. Let me see if I can pull it up. I can drop it here in chat if you guys want. Give me 1 second, see if I can get in here. I haven't really used this particular Discord a ton, this account, but I have one set up for all of this stuff, for VTuber stuff. All right, I found it. You just need the 4-digit number. All right. Yeah, I got you. Give me 1 second. I have my keyboard off to the side while I have my tablet down here on drawing. There it goes. That should work. I'm logged in now, so if anybody sends any requests, I should be able to see them. That's weird. Well, I entered it. I entered it the way it shows on my profile. Do you have one? I could try sending you a request for your full milk. Ah, I got it. I got your request. Alright, well cool. Glad we got that set up. I'm assuming you have your own channel here, if you feel for milk. Ah. I see, it's also linked in your profile there too. Oh, I'll have to check you out. I need to give some thought into creating a community Discord for all the stuff here. Maybe as we start getting more people hanging out, and I can look at doing that. I know it's not hard, I've done it before. Yeah, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Like I said, I've set up Discord before for just personal use and stuff with friends. I'll probably want to set something up a little more organized for stuff here, but for now, that's probably going to be something I think about in the background since, again, we don't have a ton of traffic coming to the streams as of right now, which is fine. But I think that'll do for the drawing stream today. Today's creature study. The point was to take our source material over here in sprite format. I'll just use my cursor. We'll just sort of wrap up here. The point of the creature study was to take our source material over here in sprite form and try and find a way to create a more realized, fleshed out version here. And this was a bit of an experiment. I haven't done this so far on a drawing stream, but I wouldn't mind doing something similar in the future, where we take some sort of basic design and try and translate it into some other form of media. But that being said, I think we can go ahead and wrap up here. Like I've mentioned before, for the folks that were just stopping by, I post my stream schedule for each given week over on Twitter. My name on Twitter is the same as it is on here, and it's linked in the descriptions of, should be linked in the stream description, but it's also in the video descriptions for the stuff I've uploaded so far. And yeah, again, thanks for stopping by. I'm sure we'll see you folks next time. The next stream this week should be Thursday. That's going to be a more chillin' chatting stream. So it'll be a good chance to get to know folks better. So once again, hope you guys have a good evening, and I will catch you next time.